Welcome to today's Flex webinar. I'm your host, Marcus Merritt. Today we're going to be talking about inventory organization best practices. Okay, and the key thing with inventory organization is that good inventory organization is going to help keep your inventory easy to use, informative, and most importantly, it's about helping to save you time throughout your organization to help you that way. Okay, so with that, let's get to the demo. So the first key thing I just want to do is a quick reminder of how to make changes to your inventory organization. Okay, so for that, we have our inventory here, but if we want to make changes, we have to go up to the configure icon and open up the configure window. Now, only if you have permissions to do this, but I'm guessing most of the people who have joined this will have those permissions. From here, you can either take groups and move them around by taking and dragging and dropping. As always, you need to grab the handle or that first column of those 6 dots. If I try to grab somewhere else, oh, it actually is working. It's designed to work from here, but sometimes it may work on the other. That works the same if you go all the way down to actual individual items rather than just folders. Okay. You can also then create top level folders by going down to the bottom here and just adding a new group. That would add an additional top level group. I'm not going to bother to actually do that because I'm happy with where they are. If I needed to add an additional subgroup, so in my example right now in my sub rental section, I only have lighting. Maybe I think I'm going to plan to sub rent some audio gear in additional, so I can click this cog to say add child group, and I can make a audio section, and I want to go ahead and give it an audio icon. We'll just give it this speaker there. And so now I have another folder. If I want that one to be first, I can change that order there. Oh, I don't have permissions to do this because I messed up in my login. One moment. I was trying to prep for some settings adjustment. So let me really quick change this. And that should work. Sorry about that. Okay. It's a little weird. It let me create the one, but it didn't let me move it. So I'm not sure why that is. We'll have to look at the settings on that there. But so now I can move that around. Okay. So that's just the core of how to do it. I don't have any items in that folder yet, so that's not key. So that's just the quick thing I wanted to kind of highlight for this. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about that's key to a good inventory organization is it's about helping your account managers, your sales reps, whoever it is that building quotes to save time when doing that process, when building those quotes. Okay. The key in this is we're talking about making items easy to find if they're using the browse functionality. If they're going through the inventory and just going to look for the items they want this way, rather than going to search, then we want to make sure the items are easy to find. When we do this, we're generally trying to balance between two different things, okay? We're trying not to make the items too many levels deep, okay? We don't want to go click, 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 click to go find an item. That's a waste of time, okay? At least an item that they're going to be frequently adding to a quote, to a project, okay? But I don't want to open to a list and have it so long. I don't have that many items in any of this system. It's kept pretty sparse on purpose. But I don't want to get to a list that's so long that suddenly I'm scrolling this page. So that's what we're balancing there, okay? So as an example, I commonly like to think things should be 2 or 3 levels deep, those items that I want to add directly to a quote, okay? So I would say like audio, microphones. If I have very few microphone offerings, I only do wireless mics, I don't expect to ever cover a band or something for my company, then maybe my list can just be audio microphones and I've got 6 or 10 items and that's not too long, Okay, but if I start to be more of a full-fledged audio provider, and I've got wireless mics and wired mics and band mics and lectern mics, and my list starts to get long and it starts to get more cumbersome, then I need to add some subfolders. That's more like what I have here in the speakers. If again, I started out with my company, I had 5 or 6 speaker offerings, I could just go audio speakers. That's perfectly fine. But if I start to get a lot more different models, a lot more different styles, then I may need to divide them up like I have here into passive powered. I might also have a separate one for subs. Maybe I have ones for more direct and one for my line array systems. Whatever makes sense for your organization, but it's about balancing those two things. I don't want to go click, 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 but I don't want to have a long list that I spend a lot of time perusing through, okay? Both of those things are too much of a waste of time. So we're balancing those two things, okay? And that is a key thing that I've seen sometimes for people where I've seen maybe they go like video. Oh, let's reload this really quick. So real quick here, actually, because of this, I'm gonna give a quick example of a place where in this system, this list is too long and I need to divide this up. So we can already see in this where I got to where I divided up between kind of smaller and larger screens, but my lists are too long and I have to scroll. And so now instead, I should probably divide it up to small, medium, and large, and so that those don't get, because that's the one key thing is I don't want to do it where I'm going like projection screen, AV stump full, and then dividing them out, because now I'm having to go 4 levels deep. I'm having to go too much deeper. That isn't helpful. I want to do my division at this level, because it's okay if this has 8 subfolders of different division of area. That's fine. I don't want to add that one additional level deep to waste more time clicking to open subfolders, okay? So that's kind of that balance issue there, okay? So that's the first thing. The second key thing in this is that in here, let's go build my quote for this. So we're gonna say inventory. Webinar. Build this really quick, not filling out everything else, is that when we are building a quote, building an estimate, whatever project we're building, whatever we named it, and we are using the auto sort drop mode, it's going to organize things in a clear and concise way, okay? What that means is a reminder of what auto does. Is if I drag any item from the system, okay? So if I go in here, I'm gonna go back to using audio, and I go get some speakers, and I say I'm gonna add some of these VRX in here, it is going to create an audio subtotal because that is the top level folder organization for where this item is, okay? That's that key there. If I add something else from audio, if I go down here and say I'm going to add some kits and tools, and I add an audio adapter kit, then it goes into that same folder and below, in that same subtotal and below it, because that's where it is in this organization. If I then go get some microphones, and here in this system, again, I'm going audio microphones, and then I'm divided between these few different ones. In my wireless, let's say I go in here to do my QLXD wireless, you'll see that it ends up in between those items because that's where it is in the organization, okay? In the same way, if I then go back up to video and I add that projection screen we were looking at earlier, these are probably not fully built out, but we'll see that that ends up in a video subtotal up above here. Okay, because video in this system is above audio, so it moves it up here. If I add it from camera and cords, it goes in between, okay? So understanding how that operates, then it's about understanding your organization. Both what are the things you specialize in, what are the things you quote the most to your customers, those probably should be at the top. And then these other things that you maybe do less are down here lower at the bottom, okay? Those examples are down here. The other, though, is how do you like to order things when you communicate to the customer, okay? In this system, we've specifically said we always want to separate out cameras and records from just other generic video. And so we've made sure to build that extra subfolder, okay? That kind of area there. Whatever you want to do, okay? It's just about that making sense to you and your organization. Now, I will say there are some customers I have worked with that they always do custom subtotal titles. They don't ever do any auto building. And if that is what makes sense for your organization, that is perfectly fine. You do not have to use the auto sort mode. There are jobs for me in my history where I think auto sort is very helpful, and there are jobs where I think it's not helpful at all. Okay, and so it just depends. Maybe your organization doesn't use them ever. Maybe it uses it all the time, most of the time. But if you are using auto sort, it's about making that organization helpful so that after the people are grabbing and adding the items in auto sort mode, they're not coming back and doing a lot of moving them around and changing their positioning. And if they're wasting time doing that, then your organization hasn't helped you save time like it's supposed to. Okay, so that's kind of the key there on how that is supposed to work. Okay, so that's kind of that big key there. Okay, with that, let's see. So it's about making sense there. So the next step, those are the two biggest key things about helping your account managers, again, the people who are building projects, that's with their organization, making it make sense for them, okay? There's a little bit about having it help specifically your warehouse staff. Most of being clean for your warehouse staff is about good packaging, and we're not going to get into the details of packaging. You can go back to the previous webinars on packaging or advanced packages to better understand those. But in this example, like in this QLXD microphone, how it's very clear, hey, we need all of these parts and pieces, but they're clearly associated with this one item. They're near each other. That helps them understand what's going on, okay? That sort of thing. So, but the other key thing is about a possible report on the pull sheet level, okay? And so what I'm going to do really quick, we're going to go and confirm this quote. And then I'm going to build a pull sheet. And then from this pull sheet, let's go look at it. We see we just have the exact same list in the exact same order, exact same organization. We have this report of consolidated manifest. Now, consolidated manifest does two key things. The first is it takes like items and it piles them together. So if you have a estimate, a quote that is 10 different breakout rooms, but they're individually labeled, but they have a lot of the same speakers, microphones, items like that, then it will change and say, oh, to do your 5 breakout rooms of 2 powered speakers each, you need 10 powered speakers. You don't have to go individually count that. It just tells you. If for some reason one had 4 and the others have 2, it just tells you you need 12. So that helps the guy just go to the shelf, pull that, put them all together, and then they can divvy them up on site. Okay. The other thing, though, it does, because it's combining all these like items, is it says, well, I can't know anything. I can't do anything with the previous organization, whether they were in these organization or whether they were in custom subtotals for maybe, again, those breakout room examples. So it divvies them up back again by the folder organization, by the structure in here. Okay. So just as that quick example, if I run it right now, then we will see that it divided these up. They still are very similar because of that is where those items are currently organized, but it has kind of divided those up into that report. Okay, I have to do this way. So here's the next key thing with this. The first I want to talk about this is related to cases and case organization. Okay, I commonly see people put cases in one of 3 different places, And really, it depends on your organization which makes sense. But I like to refer to these as global case folders, regional case folders, or local case folders, okay? A global case folder is like this. If you have one that you just say cases, and maybe again, you once in there, you divide out audio, lighting, etc., but you have kind of global cases set up, okay? So in this, we have this case here, and let's, for this, go back. That's for our VRX. So we're going to go back in here to our 932s, and we're going to fix this to say this one, when we put it, is supposed to have, these are a 2-pack case. So this case is supposed to, per speaker, have half of a case in here. Okay, we're going to set this to auto include, and we're going to set this to be a contents no charge. I could also do this as a serialized model with accessories. That would give me the contents tab. That's going to achieve the same thing. We're not really talking about that today, but I want to just fix that so that's here. Okay, so in that, I am going to go back. We're going to remove the old one. I'm going to delete the old one, including from the full sheet. And then we are going to add 2 of it now, still in auto, so it ends up in the same place. And this time it then added me 1 case. But that case lives down here. It doesn't live up with my speakers themselves. Okay, so that's my first example. That's the global example. The second, where I would refer to as regional, and we're going to have to do this through a configure because I don't currently have one in this system, is we're going to add a child group to my audio that I'm going to call cases. Okay. And for speed, we're not going to bother to do it. So this is what I refer to as a regional. This is in the idea of saying I have like a cases folder in my audio, in my video, in my lighting, etc. Okay, and I put all of the cases for these under this concept in that folder. So they still make sure they're staying near audio, but they're not clogging up my regular area. Okay, for that, I'm going to go for my mixers here. I'm going to go get digital mixer. In this, I have what I would call the local case here, but I'm going to take this one and move it. So we're going to go take this Yamaha QL1, and we're going to move it into my regional case folder so I can use this example. Okay. Then we're going to go back. I won't need this. Over here, and we're going to go get that Yamaha QL1. We're going to be sure, again, in the same way, that the case comes with it. Come on. We say, yes, we need 1 case for each time. We're going to tell it to auto include, and it is contents no charge. So now we can go back to our quote, and we can quote our QL1. And it, again, is pulling that case. Again, I've set it to come with the item automatically, but the case is stored now in this regional location in here, okay, if we choose to do it regionally. The last thing I want to do, and for this I'm going to do on these microphones, and this I think I can just change after the fact really quick. So this case, QLXD. While I'm doing this, I'm just going to show another option on this really quick. I can go on this item, so I want to move this and make sure, actually I'm pretty sure it's in the right place, but I'm going to double check here. So I can click here and open that item. It's going to open me a new tab, and then I can go to edit it and double check its location, though also note it shows right here, and this one says it's in audio, microphones, wireless cases. So that again is what I would refer to as a local organization, because it's right near the items that it is a case for, okay? So that's that key difference in this. Okay, so that one is actually where I want it to be. So now we're going to go back to our quote with that, and we're going to update our pull sheet. And so I want to show now if in this kind of organization where, again, when the warehouse guys are looking at it, they just see speakers with a case, mixer with a case, mic with a case, and other parts and pieces. But if I go to run that consolidated manifest, then I'm going to get where my Yamaha case ended up down at the bottom because that's where that case folder is. So it's still within audio, but it's down at the bottom. My wireless case is here right after the wireless parts because that's where it is in the organization. We see that still that audio adapter kit ends up after it, okay? Whereas my speaker case, because I put it global, ends up down here in a case folder completely separate, okay? Now, I'm not saying for sure which is the right or wrong answer to this. I think, again, that depends on your organization, okay? And I think within that, a lot of things might be, well, this kind of case I'd rather have in a global, and this kind of case I'd rather have local, etc. That's completely up to you. This is just showing one place where if you're running this kind of thing, if you're running this report, you want to be sure to understand what is going to occur and make sure that the results are what you want them to be based on how you've chosen to do that organization, okay? So that's that key thing there. Another thing that is very similarly related to this is where people commonly put sub-rental items, okay? I see very commonly in systems where companies have, and this is again for items that you are pre-planning to sub-rent. You go, we don't own any of these. I don't plan on owning any of these. Anytime a customer wants them, I say that's fine, and I go rent them, okay? So very commonly I see where people just have a sub-rental folder here, okay? In this, I've made this separate lighting, and I have in here Viper profiles. Say, this company doesn't own Vipers, don't plan on owning Vipers, but if customers want them, I can go rent them, and I'm perfectly okay with that, okay? The problem with having the folder here is it means if I come and add the item, then it ends up in a sub-rental subfolder, okay? And that you may not want to communicate that to your customer. Oh, not supposed to add this straight to the, let's just be a little more accurate and add it to the quote, and we'll update in a minute, okay? So we go to add it, and again, we get a sub-rental subtotal, and we probably don't really want to communicate that to the customer that we're sub-renting that. I mean, for a lot of your customers, it doesn't matter to them, but for some, they may be like, well, why are you sub-renting this? And so you'd rather not let them know that, okay? And so we probably don't want to do that, okay? The next is you can do the same kind of thing. If I can go into here and I can make a regional one, and so then it will make sure to end up in a lighting subtotal. The key problem with that is it generally, to me, it slows down your staff when they're going to find things if they're using that, because they're not in, they're initially going, oh, I want to go find a moving light and looking for that item there when it's in the other location. Okay. Now this here, just to note, this is something I'm going to show in a second, but we're going to undo this here and show another option. But this is an update in Flex 5 where with an item has an additional location, additional locations will highlight blue. And if you hover over them, it will show where the primary location of that item is. It's saying this is referenced in sub-rental lighting. I think this is a great improvement and I'm super happy about it. So there is a little bug that I'm going to have to show something right now in Flex 4 in a minute. Because of a bug, we're getting it fixed. It should be fixed in the next patch that's in 2 weeks. Okay, so what I'm going to do really quick is I'm going to open the item. I want to show where this. So we see here our primary group, it says it's in sub-rental lighting, and our additional group is in that moving light group. I'm going to change this to get rid of the additional, and I'm going to go put it in the actual moving light group. as my primary, okay? We're gonna refresh my structure over here so I can go lighting, moving light, and now we see it in the regular place. It's not highlighted blue. And if I go back over here, I can go add the item and it will properly end up in a lighting subtotal, okay? The key with this, and this may be the best solution for it. Now, one note I will show on this, and this is something I got from a customer who is at least one representative is on this call, you see how I have this money symbol here on this icon? Because if your guys are going through here, I maybe can do some different things. There's a couple different things I've done on this where I have this SR, but you see when it shows up here, it's not there. That's because that SR is only in the short name to remind them the subrent part. But that icon, I think, is one of the best, where if I take through and I make my regular moving lights have moving light icons, but these subrent ones, I make them have some kind of money or dollar sign, just a couple note on options that are already in here. So if I search money, there's a bunch of different kind of money ones. You can do dollar sign in here. I've also seen people just do, let's see if I do RPO. No, it could be rental. I've seen people just give them the rental PO, reminding you you're going to have to rent this. Any of those things will help if both I'm here in the browse or if I go over to search the inventory and I go say Viper, then it reminds me, yes, you can use this, but it's going to cost us money. It is a sub-rental item, okay? I've also done this one other change to this item where I added in the notes a sub-rental only, and then I set it to note mute by default. So we saw when it lands on our quote that it says sub-rental only here and is note muted. So again, I'm reminding myself, because I don't get that icon anymore, so I'm reminding myself, hey, if you added this to the quote and you didn't pay attention to that money symbol, again, that's fine, but remind you have to go make arrangements for sub-rental. If you're trying to make this too cheap, well, you're going to cost us money. You're not going to make any margin, okay? So those are just some things to help with that. But we're mostly trying to talk about organization, okay? So the one thing I just want to show, and so for this, I'm going to delete both of these. So let's just get rid of these. Let's go back up here and delete. And we're going to change this guy back to where it was just a second ago. So we're going to go back to say, I live primarily in subrental lighting, but I have an additional group of lighting, moving light, okay? So now with this, and unfortunately this is where the bug currently is, so I have to go over to Flex 4 to demo this part. So let me go over here, and I have to do this. Another system. Again, this should get fixed by the next patch, but for today, I have to show this little example here in a different system. So when I go to do this, sorry for the delay. If I go and get the item straight from the subrental, so I help remind myself, hey, I know I got a subrent. If I go get it there, that's still going to create me a subrental subtotal. But if I have it additionally located in the lighting, moving lights, and I'm using the browse functionality, and I go to add this, it's going to create a lighting subtotal because I pulled it out of lighting, okay? That's the key thing there. So it puts it in lighting to my customer, okay? But what we're doing, and we can get rid of this one, and we're going to actually go back over to Flex 5 now that I've got it. Just the adding the item in from the additional location. There's currently a bug in Flex 5 on that right now. So we can go back over here. We can reload this. Get our lighting with that in here. But if I then take and workflow and update my pull sheet, and then I go and run that consolidated manifest, it's now going to use, the thing is, when it has that additional location, the consolidated manifest doesn't know or care about that additional location. So it threw that subrental light down here into a subrental subtotal. Okay, so that could be a way that you could help your staff go, yeah, we have all this lighting up here, these audio items up in audio, but I want to remind you guys, you're not trying to pull those lights. Those are all things we're making plans for subrental arrangements, okay? So they all move down to a subrental section. So that's the specific benefit of having that global subrental folder, but having the item additionally located in the item location where it would be if you actually owned the item. The caveat on this you have to be careful for is that if you have staff who their general preference is to do it via search, the search only pays attention to primary location. So if I go and add it in a search, it's going to create a sub-rental section. And again, we're probably trying to avoid that. So the key thing there is you have to keep in mind, if you have guys that only add things through search, then it probably will not work. But if not, this could be a nice little tool for you to help in kind of your organization and to help communicate down to your warehouse staff, okay? So that's kind of the key there. So just a couple things really quick that I want to circle back on. We're almost through. The one here is you'll see in this system, this is how I personally preferred to do things. I was very heavy in doing local. And so we'll see here, if I went to my speakers, I went to, passive, and then I had cases and like the rigging for these speakers in here. I'm very much in having local. Because of that commonness of having local, the key is the items that I want to quote are either these items or maybe some of these packages that I put on this top level. And so these folders are somewhat getting in my way, okay? And so the key I want to show, and this again, unfortunately, we have to do in Flex 4, is this is in your inventory settings. You can switch the order of these. On these, it's the 5th yes, no box, this reverse group item order. Default in any system is going to say no. I am a big fan of switching this to yes. That is my personal preference. Okay? If we switch that to yes, and again, we're just going to go back over to Flex 5 for it, and we reload here. Now when I go audio speakers, we see all my packages, and then these folders get pushed down below. Similarly, then when I go to open passive, my speakers are here, and my cases or my rigging are down underneath that. Okay, that's that key there to make it so that I get that cleaner. Again, that's completely optional, completely up to you. I am a personal fan of having that reversed, but I've had customers who I've shown that to, don't want to have it. That's completely up to you. Okay, so the one last thing we want to cover a little bit is I want to talk a little bit about some ways to filter your inventory items, your inventory tree, okay? So this is generally about, again, part of saving time for your account managers, your people building quotes, so they don't have a lot of this extra fluff in here that's unnecessary. I like the example for this on the microphones, or if I go to the wireless, I have all these separate folders in here for all my Shure components because I have a bunch of different Shure models in here. So if I go over to search and I go to search Shure, I get a giant list, just giant list. And a lot of these things are the belt packs or the handhelds that I don't want my sales guys to directly quote. I want them quoting the packages, okay? They definitely don't need to be pulling the antennas or the power supplies in here, okay? And so for that, we have a couple different options to kind of help them. Now, the first is only about currently cleaning up browse functionality. Now, I'm working with the developers to get this to change, or at least requesting and have it on the list to have this be adjusted. But the first of this is about changing view groups on folders here, okay? So if I go to my configure and I go in my audio and then microphones, wireless, and I go, I don't want my sales guys to see these Shure components, these folders, okay? I can go double click on this folder to let me edit it, and it's actually already set here where it says view groups. I only have administrators, inventory managers, and shop techs able to view this. Now I'm in here as an administrator, so I have the rights to see it, okay? We're gonna leave that on this. We're going to check some, oh, I can't do that there. Let's do this. We're going to go to my users. We're going to take my user in here. And we're going to change me to now being a sales rep. By doing that, I can go back over to Flex 5 and I can reload this. And it now goes, oh, well, you're a sales rep, not an administrator. And so now that's not going to actually change my permissions of what I can do, but it does change what group it considers me. So in here, I no longer see that Shure components group. But currently, if I go to search and I go and type Shure again, this list won't have changed, okay? Right now, that view group is only to the browse functionality. I have requested, and I believe it will happen. I don't have any ability to say when, but we will update that so that if you can't view the folder in browse, then those items won't show up for you in the search functionality. That is a request I've made, hoping to get it at some point, okay? Another option though on this, that's something you can do now, is you can go and take some of those items. And so for this, I have to do this differently, is I'm gonna go to these Sennheiser items, and let's just say these IEM racks, and you can hide the items, okay? So we see when we go down here, we have a section of hide, yes or no. If I hide an item, the key thing I want to show, so that's where you see it in editing the item in that hide, yes or no, that will hide the item both from browse functionality and from search from people who within their permissions, and this is the quick thing I can show because we have a little bit more ability, I believe. Oh, I can't do this because I removed my permissions on this. Where's my Flex 4? So in the permissions, I can still do it over here. In my sets of permissions, the permission for viewing hide is in the inventory module, and this can browse and search hidden items, okay? So it says I can't see those items. This again, it's strange because it feels sometimes weird where you're saying I'm taking away items from sales staff, but it's to save them time, to clear up fluff and extra clutter from their view. Now you have to be careful and remember, is there a point where they might want to quote that item individually rather than part of the package? Okay, maybe on these wireless mics, I don't need them to do that to the belt pack, to the handheld, to the receiver, to the power supply, but maybe they want to have all of the different lavalier headsets available, so I need to not hide those. You have to kind of be careful and decide those, okay? The one thing that I want to caveat, and again, I'm looking to get this fixed in the future, if you hide an item, then the inventory catalog worksheet, whether you have permissions to view hidden items or not, hidden items do not currently show up on this. Now in Flex 5, we have not developed that page at all yet. If I go menu inventory, again, my hope is when they go to do that, they will fix that and it will properly respect your permissions to view or not view hidden items or have some kind of toggle to turn that on or off. But those are kind of ways to help filter and clean those out to clean up your inventory organization. And as always, any other questions or requests, feel free to send them to support at Flex Rental Solutions or training at flexrentalsolutions.com. Thanks again, everybody, for showing up. Have yourself a great day and a great weekend. Thanks.